Well, I'm on Hampstead Heath and all paths seem to lead to the view from Parliament Hill. So called, I believe, because the parliamentarians, it was a good defence point during the Civil War. I don't know if that's true or not. I've not made it up. I did Google it. Picnic going on. I'm not sure that you will be able to see much at a distance, but it is like a sci-fi city on another planet. This city of London. Excuse the heavy breathing. I think they've saved me a bench, which is kind of them. Just have a little look and a zoom of the city where fortunes and reputations are made and lost, aren't they, Boris? That really is the financial centre. If I pan left a bit, I guess we can see more of the west centre of the city. Yes, I can see the London Eye from here, and that'll be the South Bank. And the mobile phone, I've forgotten what that building is called. So I'm just going to catch my breath now on this bench and have a think on this Sunday morning in glorious sunshine. I know it's Sunday, and of course with the sunshine most people are outdoors enjoying their picnics or their games of cricket or trip to the shopping mall, whatever is your preference for a Sunday. My friend Andrew is going to church at this time in Sierra Leone, where he is building new accommodation for slum dwellers. Bless him. I had a chat with him earlier this morning before I had my scrambled eggs on toast with coffee in my Carpe Diem Albanian cafe before going to the Idler Festival, which starts in half an hour. The third day. It's been absolutely superb. Maybe I'll say a little bit about that another time, but the first session this morning is entitled The Future of Work, which is a bit of a paradox, seeing as it's Sunday, but work seems to have encroached upon all of our daily activities. Of course, if we are consumers, we benefit from it because the supermarkets and the shops and the coffee shops and the cafes are open. But if you're a worker, it's just another day at work. And this makes me reflect on a talk by, I think his name was Guy Standing or Guy Harding, on the Commons. And I heard or learned for the first time the astonishing fact that the oldest statute on the British constitutional books, we don't actually have a formal constitution, but you'll be familiar with the Magna Carta, 1217, but alongside it there was the Charter of the Forest. Now, I hadn't heard of that before. Have you heard of that before? The Charter of the Forest. Well, in a way, this was more significant than the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta, as I understand it, was really about the relationships between the nobles and how they should behave with the king and with each other, and certain judicial rights. But the Charter of the Forest was really about the commoners and it protected the rights of the commoners to access to land, not for labour purposes, but for common purposes, which could include leisure, play, communal gatherings, picnics, or presumably church weekends away. I don't know what you did in 1217. Or what we would now call idling, but this is frowned upon, of course, in our work-centric, always-on society. Idling was included spending time with the family. Now, if you weren't doing that, if you were what they called a vagabond, the first offence, if you were caught being a vagabond, you were branded with a V. Second offence, death. A bit harsh, I would have thought, although the American judicial system is not far off that. But we pride ourselves in Britain, of course, for being a lot more compassionate than that. Except, and this charter of the forest was part of English, not British law. I suppose I'd better say English law, until the Tories, the Conservatives, rescinded it in 1971. And so there is no, as I understand it, legal redress against access to common land. I have just been to the mixed swimming pond here on Hampstead Heath, where I packed my swimmers. It's 26 degrees, and I fancied a swim, only to be told at the entrance to this common lake, it's full. How on earth can a large commons lake be full? Madness. They forcibly removed commoners off the commons, which they had a legal right to. Now, I don't know how you feel about that. Let bygones be bygones, but I will certainly be signing up to Guy's Retrieve the Commons for the Commoners campaign. He's been on it for 30 years and given 800 talks on it all around the world, and he has helped also nations around the world, including the Welsh Government, introducing a trial universal basic income. So you get the drift of where that's going. For myself, I am not going to dash back under this beautiful sun over the heath to Fenton House for the 12 o'clock session on the future of work. I rather see myself as actually in action, praxis, if you like. I am the future of work. How can I say that? Well, it's taken a number of years to create this niche. Most people who know me, certainly my family or extended family, never quite understood what I did all those years after university. In fact, I was very busy starting and in many cases finishing unsuccessfully 20 startup businesses. So I've earned my stripes doing the work thing. And then I moved from Sheffield to Lanzarote to offer my 5 Paths course, which shifted my priorities of life to what I considered a life well lived. And then I moved back 2 years later. I say for work. I invented something called, with my mate Rue something called Music Code, which is like a QR code, only round and sexier and more functional, which we needed to work on over the summer, which I did, and then we sold it to a Manchester media company, who unfortunately have recently gone into administration, so the golden goose has croaked, if a goose can croak. But it set me on another path of, I became a maker and started making my music speakers in 2-ounce tobacco tins, which I called tin amps, for a few years, where I learned about electronics, but I also learned how to solder and glue. And I sold my tin amps all over Europe, and to places in London. You can probably spot it from here. Selfridges and the Conran shop. So that was a shift from, if you like, head work. I loved working on the new designs, but didn't sell enough. So tin amps was a great craft product. It was a gift product which I took to Olympia and the NEC and various trade shows, so that was good fun. But after 5 years I stopped doing that and read John Butler's book, and then Elif Shafak's 40 Rules of Love in a coffee shop by the river in Bakewell when I went to meditate with John. And the upshot of that was, one of the rules of love was, sometimes it only takes a moment to make a decision that changes your life. And I decided I could move from Sheffield to Bakewell, where I've been for 6 years now, and quite out of the blue, John told me he'd recorded an interview for Conscious TV, which has now itself had 13 million views. Nothing to do with me, he'd already done it. So I said, well, we could give that a church, and we started recording in church in Bakewell on top of the hill, basically learning on the job, so to speak, on this camera actually, or its predecessor rather. And in the first 2 years, nothing about a video a month and about 300 or 500 subscribers and a couple of thousand views, and so that was the expectation. Well, a few years later it's turned into 200,000 subscribers and nearly 20 million views. So none of my doing, you understand, pure serendipity. I have no skills at all that I've added to the mix, just happened by itself, John. And of course I've had to learn a lot, both hands-on about video recording and how important the audio is. Having said that, I'm using the iPhone's audio outdoors. I should really be using the Rode microphone that I've got in my bag. But you see, this is the lo-fi version of it. And of course, I consider this my creative work. I've also started this channel, which is subtitled Exploring Life in All Its Fullness. Notice it doesn't say exploring work in all its fullness. I consider myself hugely fortunate, talking about the future of work. My work has been sort of subsumed under life. I make no distinction now between a working day and a lifing day. So you are the viewer of my work, if you like, on this sunny Sunday on Hampstead Heath, Parliament Hill. But it's not work really, is it? I've got a bottle of iced latte in my bag here. It must be nearly time for that. There we go, looking forward to that. It's still cold. So I feel like the most fortunate person in the world. That I love what I do. It's very creative. It's a service to others. I think that was absent from my previous 20 startups. It served nobody but myself and maybe my staff, frankly, because I bought into the the everyman idea of being a success in business. This seems to be the most important thing to most young people. And now I've sort of come out as an idler. I'm at the Idler Festival. Of course, when you make no distinction between your work life and your life, you also have to accept, cheerfully in my case, that there's no boundary, and so everything becomes, shall we say, grist to the mill. And whilst I'm never working, if you get the distinction with the boundaries, I'm always only ever lifing these days. Some of it transforms into what others might call work. And if anybody is remotely inspired, I would encourage you to reframe working into lifing. Discover what you are most passionate about, if you don't already know, and do that, and it'll be just fine. Promise you. Time for an iced latte. Just a little PS to that about work being subsumed by life. There is that lovely saying, which I can endorse from my own experience. If you do what you love, you'll never have to do a day's work again in your life. which I have to say attracts opprobrium. It seems a challenge to most people's idea of a proper life. I don't think my siblings have quite forgiven me for being so idle throughout my adult working life. You have to swallow it. The other thing that is this idea of taking back the commons sounds very airy-fairy. What are we going to pick up our spears or tridents? What do the beef eaters carry? What, dress up in uniform and march on Parliament? I don't think so, but giving back to the commoners, that is you and me, what is their rightful due, has been adopted very forward-thinkingly by the Norwegian government. When they struck oil in the North Sea, they made the extremely far-sighted decision that the oil revenues wouldn't go to private oil companies or even the government itself. They put all the oil revenues into a public capital fund, which all of the citizens of Norway have a stake in. So certainly on paper, every Norwegian is a millionaire. So if you're looking for a partner, I can recommend going to Norway. See you later.